Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. It's time for the Astrology and Kabbalah of December. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Today is the 3rd. I usually get this out within the last week of the previous month. The first thing we're going to look at is the numbers associated with December 2022. So let's get started. So the monthly vibration, of course, is the 12. December is the 12th month. And the 12-3 vibration is a strong individual principle vibration. It is the end of a cycle. Threes tend to wrap things up. And it is a cycle of creative self-expression. The energy must be cultivated. The energy must cultivate the courage of your convictions and power to gain followers in its progressive ideas. The universal year is a 6, right? 2022 adds up to a 6. We've been talking about this universal year for 12 months now. And so this will be the last time I talk about it until next June, when it's our monthly vibration. And perhaps we'll see if next June, if something comes of something specific that comes from the 6th year, actually, the 6th year of the 2022. But the 6th universal year vibration is a vibration of truth, order, economy, deep inner knowing, service, responsibility, and harmony. December 2022 vibration, we add the 12 of the monthly vibration and the yearly 6 vibration, and we get the 18-9 vibration. This represents a time of unfolding and endings, a benevolent influence that needs to be handled with love and compassion. So as you move through your month of staying strong to your principles. Now, staying strong to your principles doesn't mean standing strong to your opinions. It's a little bit different. This really shows people's character, right? So we'll really see the character of folk in December. All right. Oops. A little too quick. All right, so now we're going to look at the tree of life, and where these number vibrations fall on the tree of life. Neptune just went, actually, I think Neptune just went direct, and I'm still going backwards, so I'll do my best. All right, we're looking at the 12-3 vibration. The 12-3 vibration is the 23rd path on the tree of life. It is called a stable intelligence, and it lies right here on the path between Gebura, which is associated with Mars, and Hod, which is associated with Mercury. The planet associated, or the correspondence of this path, is Neptune. Now we have the Hanged Man. This is the card associated with it in the tarot. The Hanged Man can feel like you are hung up, that you're in limbo. The Hanged Man requires us to look at things from a different perspective. If you can't get anywhere in a certain situation, you need to look at it in a different way, and you will get the wisdom and knowledge that you need. But it's going to take an ability to find a place of serenity, Now, this is the Hebrew letter Mayim, which means water. This path on the tree of life is associated with the element of water. Mayim is one of the 3 mother letters. Aleph is air, Mayim is water, and Shin is fire. Those are the 3 mother letters of the Hebrew alphabet. The Hanged Man represents the suspended mind. The Hanged Man immerses himself in the water, the element of deep understanding. On this path, the Hanged Man must experience the dissolution of former patterns in order to evolve. Here we reconsider our relationship to the outer world by running it through our inner filters in connection with the great cosmic sea of consciousness. That's why in all of the Hanged Man depictions, we usually see him with a halo around his head, indicating that he is connected to cosmic consciousness. We are forced to see things from a different perspective. Here, the mind becomes a clear, receptive vehicle operating with pure, unfettered, and unclouded universal mind. It is a time of suspension of thought and action. So honestly, the 12 vibration says that you don't really have to do anything. Although your schedule might say otherwise, but it really is a meditative time, Okay. The next vibration we're going to be looking at is the 6th vibration. This is the path that the 6 sits on. Okay, it is the 17th path, called the separating or disposing intelligence. It is associated with the Lover's card. Okay, the Lover's card is about choice, choices that we make. It is associated with the sign of Gemini, and we see the symbol of Gemini here. Gemini is the sign of duality, right? Black and white, right and wrong. And while we've been on this path the whole year, we've had a lot of opportunities to see side by side the highest, perhaps, and the lowest manifestations of humanity. This here is the Hebrew letter Zion, which means sword. This is the sword that cleaves us into duality. Before this, we are unified in Bina. We are unified in Bina. And when we walk this path, we become two. We become the duality. And then it's in Tipareth where we find the balance of that duality. The Lovers represents the sword that slashes down through the cosmos, separating the whole of us into discrete forms. The sword distributes gender and polarity through the universe, creating the tension of opposites. It is the force that takes the limitless substance of the universe and categorizes it. Through Zion, we know ourselves as individual and unique. And of course, here we have the symbol for Gemini. And we have to remember at this time, as we look at these vibrations, right? The first vibration we looked at was the Hanged Man vibration. That's Neptune. On December 3rd, which is today actually, Neptune changes direction and goes direct. Now, as far as Gemini, we have Mars retrograde in Gemini right now. So we do have a very significant Gemini placement at this time. And the last vibration here, the 18-9 vibration, is the vibration of the moon. It is associated with the sign of Pisces. It is called the path, the 29 path, or the corporal intelligence. This is the intelligence of the body. This path connects Netzach, which is the Sephiroth of Venus, the Sephiroth of emotions, feelings, and instincts, and the earth plane, right? The manifested reality, Malkuth, the kingdom. We do have Neptune on this path, and we've had Neptune on this path from 2011 and till 2026, I believe. And we also now have Jupiter. We have Jupiter on this path until the 20th. I think it is the 20th of December. Quaff, and I'm not sure that's how you say it, but that one I don't know, is associated with sleep patterns. Says, hold on one second. The moon is where the forces of nature express themselves on the physical plane. And it's an important time to get a good night's sleep when you're in this vibration. Now, you may have this vibration in your natal chart, or you may have this as a temporary vibration or a longer period of time, maybe a 9-year vibration, or even a 27-year vibration, that 18-9. All of them indicate that you really need your sleep, because this is where spirit speaks to us through our sleep. It's a good idea to make sure that you don't have a lot of clutter. Things aren't under the bed. You don't have your nightstand, stacked with things. It's important that you make sure where you sleep is calm and clean and serene. It is a time to regenerate your body. That's what sleep does. And also, if you're in this vibration, it is time for you to regenerate your body. So it's been a very difficult year. I know most of you have really, we've all had our struggles this year, right? And yet we still need to continue, right? We still do what we need to do. We have to remember that our bodies are also evolving, and it's a lot harder for the dense physical body to raise its vibration. It's much easier to do it in the mind and in the higher mind and all that, connecting psychically, but you have to also connect it to your body. Otherwise, your body gets left behind, and it doesn't like that, and it will generally let you know. One of the things that you learn in this vibration is that you can't save anyone but yourself. This vibration can, in its way, get caught up in martyrdom. It is a Pisces vibration, so don't be anybody's martyr this month. This is a time of emotional ups and downs. The moon is always a difficult time. In the beginning of the year, or the end of last year and the beginning of 2022, I kept getting the moon. And then that is right after that, Putin went into the Ukraine. And so that insanity, that craziness that makes somebody think that they have the right to do that to anybody can be seen in the moon, right? There's a delusional quality to the moon. You can't see things clearly with the moon. It's also a dual sign. It is a sign of duality, just like Gemini is. And Gemini and Pisces are both mutable signs. So the energy of the signs associated with these vibrations are mutable in nature, and so changeable. What isn't changeable is and then we have Neptune. So we have Neptune as one of the major energies of this month. Via the Hanged Man, we have the moon, which is Pisces, via Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. And we also have the Gemini, Mars retrograde in Gemini, all mutable signs. So all about, everything's mutable signs, right? Even Neptune. So it's all about change and transformation and mutation and allowing that to happen. We don't have control over what's going to happen. We only have control over how we're going to respond to what happens. Now, that being said, I do believe that if you focus your attention on the things you want to see in your life, you have much better chance of getting them. And so you don't have to suffer. Just because things are bad doesn't mean it has to be bad for you, but you do have to be willing to let go of some things that maybe perhaps you wouldn't want to in different circumstances. So if we look at what chakras are getting activated by these paths, remember the tree of life can be separated out into 7 planes. The root chakra associated with Malkuth, the kingdom, the sacral chakra. This is the water chakra. This is the earth chakra. The root chakra is the earth chakra. The sacral chakra is the water chakra associated with Isad, which is the moon. We have the navel chakra, or the solar plexus. This is associated with Hod and Netzach, and the path that runs between them is the tower. So this is a very powerful path to be on, and it's about making your mark in the world. It's about being the captain of your own ship. Okay. Then we have the heart chakra, which is about love, relationship, unity. It is the place, Tiphereth is the place where we have the higher self and the lower self come together in the symbol of the six-pointed star, the six-pointed star. In the throat chakra, we have Gabura, which is the Sephiroth of the spiritual. It's connected to Mars. This mission cuts away that which is unnecessary. And then we have Hesed, which is the fourth Sephiroth, also connected to the throat chakra. And this is generosity. This is a building vibration. So we have a building up and a breaking down. And in between that is the path of Leo. So this is the throat chakra, right? Leo. We also have the third eye chakra, which is made up of Bina. This path here, the 14th path, which is the path of the Empress and connected to Venus, the planet Venus. And we have Hokma, which is associated with Uranus and the zodiac. It has a dual correspondence. And then, of course, we have the crown chakra, which is connected to the crown. I mean, we have the crown, which is Kether, and that's indicated with the crown chakra. So what I've done here is I've just colored in the paths just by the numbers. Now, this doesn't mean these are the only paths being activated. Everybody's tree is going to be a little bit different. You have paths that are always activated on your tree by your birthday, by your name and your day of birth. So everybody has their own tree, just like everybody has their own astrological chart, right? But these are the areas that are being activated by the number 6, the universal year, the monthly vibration of 12, and then the 18-9 vibration when we add December 19. When we add December 2022. The chakras that are activated is the third eye, the throat, the heart, the solar plexus, and the root. The root is activated by the path of the moon, and it's also activates the solar plexus. Okay. This is a highly emotional. This is your desires. What are your desires, right? And how do you get them manifested? What are your dreams, right? The problem is that, the challenge here, I should say, is that we are dealing with Pisces. And we can easily get confused with Pisces, honestly. But it's highly creative, and it's like a morphogenic field. Pisces is more like a morphogenic field where we can put images on, right? Television is ruled by Pisces. We see images on the TV, and it hypnotizes us, right? Hypnosis is a Pisces energy. We also have this path here, which connects Gabura to Hod. This activates the throat and the solar plexus. So we have both sides of the solar plexus, both Sephiroth and the solar plexus, getting activated, but by two different paths. The interesting thing is we have the Pisces path and we have the Neptune path, and Neptune is in Pisces. And Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces. You see what's happening here? So this is a lot of Pisces. I think it was last month, I talked about feeling like there was a deluge coming. I still feel that energy. The deluge energy is still coming, or is still expressing itself. Here we have the path of the lovers, the path of Gemini, and it connects Bina, the divine mother, with Tiphareth, the sun, Sunson. So this I sometimes call the path of the Madonna and Child. And it connects the third eye through Bina and the heart through Tiphareth. So these are the major activated chakras. Now I'm going to look at the first 10 days of December. We're going to go through the first 3 days pretty quickly because they already happened. I'll say a couple of things. But if you want to know like what's happening each day, you can always check out my morning videos. I go out into my yard when it's not too cold. And I talk about what's going on in the heavens. And sometimes you get to see my cats. Sometimes you get to see my bird. And sometimes you get to see pretty things when I'm somewhere besides my yard. Well, my yard's pretty, but like when we travel. So let's start with December 1st. December 1st, 2021, we started the month with a Venus opposition of Mars. Now, Venus and Mars are the two planets associated with relationship. Venus is in Sagittarius, Mars is in Gemini. Now, Mars is retrograde, Venus is not. Venus in Sagittarius loves freedom. Mars in Gemini usually likes doing two things at once, but now that it's retrograde, it's almost like it feels like we're all juggling cats, right? You can do it, but it's not fun, right? It's possible, but probably not something you necessarily want to do. But we come to this awareness. The oppositions are about awareness. We come to an awareness about how we relate. It could be a specific relationship. It could be how you balance your inner masculine and your inner feminine. It could just be a general look at how we're all interacting and relating to each other and how we might do a better job of that. We also have Mercury square Neptune on the 1st. Now, Neptune is that energy. Remember, this is important because Mercury is Hod in the tree of life, and we have the 12-3 vibration connecting to that. And we have Mercury, and Hod is associated with Mercury. So we have a square between Mercury and Neptune. So this is pretty big because it reflects itself in the tree. This can be very confusing. It's a last quarter crisis in consciousness square. It's really difficult to pin things down when the influence of Neptune is there. The last quarter crisis in consciousness square that these two planets are making is a point in our development, in our evolution, where we start to question authority and we start to trust our own perspective and our own instincts. We don't necessarily need an authority figure, but we do need to learn how to work with others and together. So from that last quarter square until the conjunction that will occur, down the road, it's a 2-year cycle. Venus and Mars is a 2-year cycle. So we're halfway there. This so we're confused. I'm confused, right? I think I just went from one thing to another. All right, let's go to the next thing. It already happened anyway. Venus sextile Saturn. This is a what we call a waning sextile, meaning that Venus and Saturn have been sort of going through this dance from when they came together in a conjunction, and now Venus is 300 degrees along the 360-degree circle. And so this is a time of progressive change. This is an opportunity. It's very Aquarian in nature. And so Saturn is about structures and Venus is about the things that we value. So it's about creating structure for the things that we value. And actually in the United States, we have a lame duck Congress, and they're really like breaking their hump to try to get things instituted before the Republican do-nothings take over. All right, Saturday, December 3rd, that's today. Neptune stations direct at 23 degrees of Pisces. A materializing medium gives a seance, the ability to give one's own vital energy to substantiate one's conscious ideals or unconscious desires. This is really about giving it your all, giving it your all. Now, there's always a chance that giving it your all does not necessarily mean that it's a success necessarily, because if you give your all to something that's illusionary or delusionary, we see plenty of that going on right now without naming names, then it's a fool's journey, right? It's a fool's journey. Okay, let's take a look. So here is Neptune stationing direct. And we see that it's very close to Jupiter. Jupiter is also just stationed direct. Jupiter is going to move out of Pisces on the 20th of December. And then Neptune doesn't leave Pisces until 2025, 2026, when it goes into Aries, which is quite a thing, but we can talk about that later. This Neptune is square Mars. The Neptune Mars square was exact a few days ago, and now because Mars is moving retrograde, it's moving away from exactitude. But once Mars goes direct, it's going to go back and it's going to make another square to Neptune. So it actually makes 3 squares to Neptune. That generally happens when a planet is in a retrograde cycle, especially Mars, Venus, Mercury. Okay. We also have Neptune square Venus and Neptune square Mercury. So we can see that we have this oppositional force here between Mars in Gemini and these Sagittarius planets with Neptune squaring them. This can create a certain amount of confusion. Okay. On Sunday, December 4th, Venus squares Neptune. Now, what's happening is Venus and Mercury are moving together. And so everything that happens to Mercury then happens to Venus. So we had the Mercury square Neptune. Now we have Venus square Neptune. The difference between Mercury and Venus is Mercury is the mind, Venus is what we value. A square to Neptune can make us a little bit more optimistic. We don't necessarily see people realistically. We can get fooled with this, very idealistic. But Neptune and Venus have a special relationship because Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. Venus is the planet of love, and Neptune is the planet of love taken to its highest expression of compassion. On Tuesday, December 6th, we have Mercury square Jupiter. This is important. This is a last quarter crisis in consciousness square. In September, there was an opposition between Mercury and Jupiter. And because we had a Mercury retrograde and Jupiter was retrograde in Aries, those two planets stayed in an opposition for about 6 weeks to each other. And so it was like opening a book. And it felt like to me an opening of the book of all the things that happened when the nodes were in Gemini and Sagittarius. And the nodes were in Gemini and Sagittarius from 2019, or was it 2020? 2020 and 2021, I believe. So a lot of stuff happened during that time, and we're finding out about it now. Some of what we knew and some what we didn't know. Then we have Mercury ingress into Capricorn. This square happens in the last degree of Sag and the last degree of Pisces. We'll take a look at that. And then Mercury, shortly after that, moves into the first degree of Capricorn. And this is the 6th. On the 9th, Venus is going to move into Capricorn. So again, we have this sort of lineup. Mercury goes through it first, and then Venus. Now, eventually, Venus is gonna catch up to Mercury, because at the end of the month, Mercury goes retrograde, and so it's going to get further apart towards the beginning of next year. And so they're not going to necessarily, everything's going to be happening to Venus and Mercury, and Venus and Mercury, right? Wednesday, December 7th, we have the Sun make in conjunct to Uranus. Sun Uranus. The Sun is focused, intention, illumination, and Uranus is out of the box. Inconjuncts can be kind of, this is maybe a crisis that you weren't planning on, and what kind of adjustments do you need to make, perhaps in your ego, perhaps in the way you look at something in order to be able to work through this. And then also on the 7th, we have the full moon in Gemini. I will be on Ona's channel for moonshine, for the full moon, so you can keep your eyes peeled for that. So what I did here is I wanted to show you how you look at a synodic cycle. The synodic cycle that we're looking at here is Venus and Neptune, because on the 4th of December, we have Venus making a last quarter square to Neptune. This is a crisis in consciousness, a reorientation. Okay. Here we have Venus and Neptune in the conjunction. This is the start of the cycle. Venus-Neptune synodic cycle is a year-long cycle. And we have this conjunction occur at 25 degrees of Pisces. The Sabian symbol is a religious organization succeeds in overcoming the corrupting influence of perverted practices and materialized ideas. I think we could probably add a few more things besides religious organizations, but we certainly can feel this one, right? And so this occurred on looks like April 27th of 2022, and it occurred in, this is the US chart. This is erected for Washington, DC. And so this is how, you know, in relation, like with the stars over in Washington, right? And so wherever you live, that's how you can experience it. And because Washington, D.C. is the capital of the country, I pick Washington, D.C. as a point, but you could do it to where you live. You may not live in Washington. You want to know what it's going to mean for you. Ultimately, if you want to know what it's going to mean for you, you would take your natal chart and then overlay this chart on it and see if anything here is affecting your chart. Really, that's the most personal way to go. After the conjunction, the next aspect is the crisis in action square. It's that 90-degree square. We see Venus has moved 90 degrees from Neptune. Venus is now in Gemini, right? Gemini. Venus first quarter square to Neptune, Venus at 26, Gemini, Neptune at 26 Pisces. So this occurs on July 14th, 2022. So I've actually done these before. I've done these in previous ones, so I'm not going to go too far into it. Then we have the opposition when Venus and Neptune are opposing each other. This is as far away as two planets can get. There's a lot of tension with this, but there's also awareness. This is probably the clearest you're going to see, even with Neptune. And this occurred on September 24th of 2022. Sabian symbol for 24 degrees of Virgo, where we have our Venus, says Mary and her little lamb, the need to keep a vibrant and pure simplicity at the core of one's being as one meets the many tests of existence. So what's that expression that they talk about in the Bible? If you want to, in order to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must become like the child. And that child is that awe-inspired, not cynical, loving heart that we all have. Some of us, have layers and layers of protection around it. Other people wear it on their sleeves, but we all have that part of ourselves, that pure essence. Even people who we might not think have it, they have it as well. It's just hidden. And maybe traded in for something, but I don't know. I can't speak to that really. And now we have this last quarter crisis in consciousness. Crisis in consciousness is a reorientation. And so this is a crisis in how we think about something. Generally, the crisis in consciousness is seen as guilt. The crisis in action is more fear-driven. So we have fear-driven, and then we have guilt, because we're a reorientation. A lot of times we're letting go of what we've put our energy into, because it no longer serves our evolution, and that's what we're seeing here. Mercury's last quarter square to Jupiter. Mercury is at 30 degrees of Sag, and Jupiter is at 30 degrees of Pisces. And we can see it right here. Here's Mercury, and here's Jupiter. Okay, and there's the square. This is the U.S. chart. It's for Washington, D.C. We have a Libra rising. We're looking at the third house and the sixth house. The third house is the house of the media. It's also the house of your local neighborhood. And then we have the 6th house, which is the house of service, the military, and the like. This could very well be getting help because of some weather event here. That's what I think that looks like to me. I'm going to just talk about these 2 symbols because we're going to see them again. We're going to see them again. So I'll go over them now, and the next time I'll just read them quickly. So Mercury at 30 degrees of Sag, the Sabian symbol for 30 degrees of Sag is the Pope blessing the faithful. The need to pay homage to traditional values upon which the invisible community of the spirit is built. And the last quarter crisis in consciousness square to Jupiter at 30 degrees of Pisces. 30 degrees of Pisces, a majestic rock formation resembling a face, is idealized by a boy. Oops, sorry guys. Which is idealized by a boy who takes it as his ideal of greatness, and he grows up beginning to look like it. The power of clearly visualized ideals to mold the life of the visualizer. It is very important about what you focus on at this time. Jupiter is not going to be at this degree of Pisces for another 12 years. So focus on what you want to see in your life. And then, of course, shortly thereafter, we have Mercury move into Capricorn. And when I see a sign move into a planet move into a new sign, I always like to see where the ruler of that sign is. In the case of Capricorn, we have Saturn. Saturn's at 21 degrees of Aquarius. So we have Mercury ingress into Capricorn. Mercury at 1 degree, an Indian chief claims power from the assembled tribe, the power and responsibility implied in any claim for leadership. Right? So if we want to be in charge, we have to be responsible. Saturn at 21 degrees of Aquarius, a disappointed and delusioned woman courageously faces a seemingly empty life. The capacity to meet emotionally upsetting experiences in human relationships with strength of character and personal integrity through the time that Mercury is in Capricorn. This energy of this 21st degree of Aquarius, it sort of goes along with it. And so we're going to have to, there's going to be some tests of our character, and we have to pass those tests. I don't worry about you guys, though. On the 7th, we have the full moon at 17 degrees of Gemini. And we can see here's the sun at 1601, and still 17. You always go up. If it was 00, if that was 1600, we would look at the 16th degree. But as it's 1601, we look at the 17th degree. The sun in Sag, the moon in Gemini. And of course, there's Mars right there. Not exactly conjunct, but soon to be after this, right after this, it's conjunct Mars. And then we have Mars making opposition exactly to the sun at the same degrees of this full moon. So let's take a look at the degrees here. 17 degrees of Gemini, the head of a robust youth changes into that of a mature thinker. The transformation of physical vitality into the power to build concepts and intellectual formations through which knowledge can be transferred. And it is in an opposition to the sun at 17 degrees of Sagittarius. An Easter sunrise service draws a large crowd, the culturally stimulated longing for group participation in the process of rebirth. We want it different. We want it different. And hopefully the people who can make a difference for us will listen to that. And if not, we'll have to do it ourselves. But it would be nice if the people that, get put in these positions of power actually mind us. This is the halfway point of the lunation cycle that began with that new moon in Sagittarius that occurred on the 23rd of November. That day incidentally vibrated to a 40/4. This let's see, what is this vibrate to? So 40/4 at 2 Sag, and a Sabian symbol for 2 Sag. White caps waves display the power of the wind over sea, the mobilization of unconscious energies under the pressures of superpersonal motives. This is, this is kind of about us being caught in the flow of evolution. You just have to go with the flow with this, because we don't have the power. We can put a rudder in and sort of, just figure out, get away from, here comes the rock, let's move, and we could do that, but there's no stop in the river. There's no stop in the river. Okay. All right. So we also have Thursday, December 8th, part of week 2, the Mars opposing the Sun. This is the highlight and halfway point of the Mars retrograde cycle. And then on Friday, we have Venus square Jupiter, just like we had Mercury square Jupiter. And then Venus moves into Capricorn, just like we had Mercury move into Capricorn. So these are the same degrees as what we looked at for the full moon. We have Mars at 17 of Gemini, and we have the Sun at 17 of Sagittarius. This synodic cycle began back in 2021, October 8th of 2021, at 16 degrees of Libra. The Sabian symbol for that is, after a storm, a boat landing stands in need of reconstruction. The need to keep in operation steady links between the vast unconscious and the ego consciousness. So this is talking about staying connected to source. And what does the Hanged Man, when we first started this, the Hanged Man, it's about connecting with cosmic consciousness. This is a time when we need to use all our tools for focusing our intentions and evolving through what will seem like a very, most likely, crazy time. But sometimes what we see in the outside world, or or maybe I should say, what's being shown to us in the outside world, may not reflect your experience or the things that you're feeling. So you may, watch something and say, oh my God, this is terrible, this is awful, but I feel pretty good. Don't feel bad about that. We have empathy, and I'm of the belief that the best way you can help the world is to live your best life. And that doesn't mean, uber successful in 12 cars and, 3 houses. And that's not what that means. It means waking up in the morning and being happy that you have the whole day to do what you love and be around the people that you love and create what you need to create, or organize what you need to organize, whatever it is that makes you happy. It's very important. It's very important. And then we see this particular, and this time we have Venus in the first house, which is the identity house, which is for your siblings. This can also be the media. So we'll expect to hear some crazy stuff around the media. And then Venus ingresses into Capricorn. Again, the same thing, the Indian chief, because it's 1 degree of Capricorn, it's always going to be the same. But Saturn is still at that 21st degree of Aquarius. A disappointed and delusioned woman courageously faces a seemingly empty life. Seemingly, but perhaps not so. And this is the vibration of the day. So this is somebody who is courageously facing, right? Courageously facing. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop. Sorry, this was late. It's been a busy couple of days, and I'm glad I could get this out for you. So I will be doing another probably. I think I'm going to break down the months into 10-day increments. so these videos don't get too long. So have yourself a wonderful day. I will see you in the morning. I will see you with Ona for the full moon moonshine episode, and I'm also going to be with Marianne from Revealing Light. We'll look at some charts together and pull some cards and have some fun. So have yourself a wonderful week, and I will see you again soon. Take care, everyone. Love you. Namaste.